Welcome to Hood Champion Boxing and Sports. In boxing, you find a way to win or you find a way to lose. Reynoso and his drug cartel. Now, I'm going to tell you this. We could take this back to 2021, where Eddie Reynoso was trying to distance himself from doping talk. And what he said then is what he's saying now. When it comes to Jaime Munguia and the crap that goes on with fighters who he's working with who happen to test positive for banned substances. That he's not responsible for nutrition. All I do is train them. I don't know anything about nutrition. I don't see anything about nutrition. I don't hear anything about nutrition. I don't smell anything about nutrition. I don't taste anything about nutrition. Don't come talking to me, Eddie Reynoso, Guadalajara, Jalisco's finest, about no damn nutrition, about no supplements, about PEDs. If they're doing it, hey, don't look at me. It's not me fault. You know what I found interesting is when I was taking a look at what happened with Oscar Valdez, right? Because they weren't just looking at Valdez. They weren't just scrutinizing him, the whole boxing world, after he tested positive for phentermine, okay? Now, remember he tested positive for that ahead of his victory over Robin Conceição. Now the thing is, this is my opinion, right? I believe this is just me. You can't make me believe that this guy has all these different people who've worked underneath him, that he has no idea what they're doing as far as possibly cheating. Even if he's not aware of them doping, right? Because I think it's microdosing going on. That's what I think. But even if he's not aware, no one's telling him that they're doing something. You want to make me believe that you're in an intimate setting with these guys in the boxing gym. You have an intimate trainer-trainee relationship, that you're not seeing a difference in their performance in camp. You're telling me you're not seeing some shit happening in that ring where you're like, whoa, he wasn't doing this before. So this pleading ignorance, Hood Champion's not buying that, okay? And for Eddie Reynoso sitting here feeling like he's a victim, I mean, what do you think's supposed to happen? You're the trainer, bozo. You're gonna get dragged into the controversy, and your reputation, you know what? It should be tarnished. It should be called into question. This ain't nothing new for Eddie Reynoso. It's nothing new. Haney, Plant, Sonny Edwards. Now you got De La Hoya. You know De La Hoya can't wait to say some shit about Canelo and Reynoso. You got everybody looking at Eddie Reynoso, also at Canelo and everyone else over there. They're saying something's up. Something's suspicious. And the shit going on over there in that camp, whether Eddie Reynoso wants to wear the hat of the leader or not, it's intentional, and I think it's intentional. I'm being honest with you. And some may see, my opinions about this as somewhat explosive, but it ain't more explosive when you have professional fighters looking at this saying the same shit. They're like, when is this going to stop? It's not good. And then you got Canelo getting ready to fight Crawford. Big super middleweight undisputed championship. Of course, the Canelo fans don't give Crawford a chance, but when you look at this, Canelo and Crawford, I truly believe Canelo's like, look, this is a fight I can't lose. And I'm just telling you, this is just what I think now. I'm telling you, I'm just being honest with you. I wouldn't be surprised if there's microdosing that's been going on. Because see, with microdosing, that shit flies underneath the radar. But when you're microdosing over a period of time, you can still get the same results of someone who's actually sitting there, man, and getting juice to the gills. I don't know what Eddie Reynoso was gonna do, but to me, he should have had this shit fixed back in 2021, where he was out here telling the whole world, man, I need to think twice about which fighters that I'm training going forward. Maybe they need to sign waivers. I don't know. I'm not the nutritionist. I don't give medical advice. I'm the trainer. I teach technique, and that's it. That's it. So here it is, where he's trying to alibi and deflect. All I am is a trainer. I don't have that important of a role. Nope, not me. All I do is train, teach technique, and they go fight. Outside of that, as a trainer, the head trainer, the lead trainer, I don't know anything about nothing else. Y'all, listen, if you're a boxing fan, right, forget it if you like the Reynoso cartel, you like Canelo. Forget that shit. Sit that aside for a second. What sense does that make for the head trainer, right, to sit there and say, I don't know nothing about nutrition, I don't know nothing about their supplements, I don't know nothing about medical advice. All I know, I'm the trainer, I teach technique, that's it, it stops there. The head trainer, every head trainer I know, that I know of, when I hear them talk, they speak intimately about what the fighter is doing. They speak intimately about the strength and conditioning coach, intimately about the nutritionist, intimately about the chef. They know everything that's going on. They're like a project manager. And the fighter is their project. And with the project manager, you may have to go and coordinate a nutritionist, coordinate a chef, coordinate a dietitian. You wearing the hat to make sure that this project, right? There's a deliverable that's expected at a certain point in time, and they're expected to get that deliverable, which is on fight night, a clean fighter who's put in the work and ready to perform. So Reynoso could kill that noise about I've been training for over 20 plus years and how many world champions I've trained and worked with. So he could kill that noise talking about my accomplishments. And to me, what he's doing is, this is where he's trying to redirect you. He's trying to mask what's really going on. You know what I'm saying? That's like somebody who's never been arrested, ever, killing someone. And then when they know they're guilty as hell, but you come up there now and you're like, hey, what word on the street is, somebody got killed and saying you did it. Oh, I've never done it. Never even killed a fly. I wouldn't even step on an ant. I've never been arrested. You, sir. Okay, we get it. Well, here's the video. Busted. And Eddie Reynoso is one of those guys. Like, you're going to have some stone cold evidence before he sits there, and he still won't admit it. But that's just what I think. So as far as him saying people are ignorant, I think Eddie Reynoso right now, I think everything that he's worked for, I think he's doing a pretty good job tarnishing it. You know what I'm saying? You can't make me believe that Munguia comes over to you after all these different fighters you've worked with who's tested positive for shit, and Munguia loses to this guy Sirachi. And then he goes to the rematch and he wins, and then you can't make me believe you didn't know that he was on something. I just don't believe that. I don't believe that. I believe he wanted Munguia to win. Munguia wanted to win, and there was some foul play. Now, if something comes out and says something different, well, then what we need to do is we need to take a look at these drug testing agencies and put a foot up their asses, because they're obviously doing something wrong. Because that's horrible for them to come out with, hey, so-and-so failed the A sample failed, we got to look at the B sample now. Because, we are immediately going to, gravitate towards that and start doing videos and having a conversation about it. But especially with somebody who's attached to a fighter like Eddie Reynoso, attached to a guy like Munguia. Like, Eddie Reynoso's name has been attached to about 5 or 6 fighters who tested positive for some kind of banned substance. That's not good, man. And I'm going to tell you right now, say what you want about Canelo. I know you got some Canelo lovers out there. I like Canelo. I'm gonna be honest with you, okay? Just because I'm talking about this doesn't mean I don't like him. I like Canelo, and Canelo can fight. Like you got to give Canelo credit, but I just got to be honest with you. When Canelo tested positive for the banned substance clenbuterol ahead of his 2018 rematch with Golovkin, look, he got suspended for 6 months. People don't forget that shit. But it was supposed to be a result of tainted meat. Now, my thing is, Reynoso and his pops were butchers. What Canelo doing getting tainted meat when the goddamn Reynosos were butchers? Like, that didn't make any sense. That's why everybody thought that claim was outrageous about this beef bullshit. Anyway, there were some guys, man, who, when it comes to the tainted beef from other sports, who, look, they came out and used the same alibi and said, look, I ate tainted meat in Mexico. And what ended up happening is, like in the NFL in particular, there was a guy named Dwayne Brown. He was an all-pro tackle. He ended up testing positive for the clenbuterol shit as well. But what ended up happening, it led to a warning from the NFL to his players that consumption of too much meat in Mexico and China could lead to a positive test for that substance. Now, you can take that how you want. But all I'm going to say is, for me, I'm just disappointed, man. I just really am. You know what I'm saying? Because although I see things that don't make sense to me, like, I just hate for Canelo to... It's good for Terence Crawford, though. But I hate for Canelo to because he comes to the defense of Eddie Reynoso with the quickness. You know what I mean? He loves Eddie Reynoso, man. You know, them guys go back to when they were both basically kids. But he doesn't like anyone saying anything negative about Eddie. But at the same time, you know, birds of a feather flock together and shit. You know what I mean? And I just think that's Canelo's role, is to make sure that he sticks up for his guy. But I'm just gonna tell you, I don't think there are people trying to bring down Reynoso. Somebody was saying, man, this is nothing but Victor Conti. Victor Conti bringing down Munguia to put attention on Reynoso. If Victor Conti, let me tell you something. If Victor Conti was going to somehow get into bed with the secret society to bring a fighter down, he wouldn't do it to Munguia. Damn it, he would do it to Canelo. Because, you know, he loves Terence Crawford. So people need to stop with that bullshit. Victor Conti brought down Munguia and Eddie Reynoso like that. That's the funniest shit I've heard in a long time. But the bottom line is, I think Eddie Reynoso needs to do a better job, because after all these years, you can't come out here and keep saying, I just teach technique. Nah, man. It's called CYA, cover your ass. And if it was me, and my reputation being tarnished, my characters being defamed, my name's being slandered, I'm going to try to get more involved in what's going on. Because he was talking, you know, years ago about making people sign a waiver or something. So I don't know why he didn't do it, because here it is in 2025, he's going through the same thing. People talking about, you know, phentermine and herbal tea and shit like that. And I just don't know what to believe. But one thing for sure is there's a test that came back positive. And I think with Canelo getting ready to go up against Crawford, I just hope Crawford knows what he's doing. And I hope his team are on it. I hope the testing is stringent. Because, you know, I'm going to be honest with you, I got to put the hairy eyeball on no goddamn, on Canelo and Reynoso. So my thing is this, right? If Canelo tests positive, Reynoso wasn't talking all that shit back then. I'm just a trainer. I'm the trainer. I don't know nothing. I just teach technique. He wasn't talking that shit about Canelo. So we're going to see what happens here coming forward, because this Terence Crawford and Canelo fight is a huge fight, man. Huge fight. You guys don't forget that Julio Cesar Martinez, man, he's the so he's the 112-pound champion. And Martinez tested positive for trace amounts of clenbuterol in 2019. You know what I'm saying? He tried to say it came from tainted meat. But the WBC was out here, the WBC, I don't know what to think about them, but all I'll tell you is, same way Eddie Reynoso was out here trying to defend himself. If you don't want to be in this position, you need to get more involved with your fighters, and stop coming out here allowing your name to be called into question by the boxing industry for these guys testing positive for different stimulants and shit like that. You know what I'm saying? These positive results is just going to make the criticism even louder, and that's exactly what's happening. People are sitting here turning over stones now. They're like peeling scabs off of wounds. They're not going to let this heal up. They're on him. You know, everybody wants to go forward with fights, but I tell you what, if I was Terence Crawford and his team, I would definitely be making that an issue about Canelo, about Eddie Reynoso, about what's going on in that camp. I would. And I tell you what would happen. That would piss off Canelo. Because Canelo, he'll sit here and tell you, I never cheated, I never did anything. You see Canelo and Crawford being kind of amicable towards each other, shit would hit the fan with the quickness. All that respect and all that shit would get ugly. Because Canelo's a hothead and so is Crawford. But I bet you if they start talking that shit, which Crawford may not, but Bomac has a big mouth. I bet you Canelo will get upset. I bet you. And then Crawford, same way Canelo defends Reynoso, Crawford would defend Bomac. As far as the verbal exchange, the next thing you know, we could get some serious fireworks. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, we'll see what the future holds, but I just think, for me, I think it really does hurt Eddie Reynoso and his character and his image, man. And I think it actually takes a little bit away from what Canelo's accomplished in boxing. Because at the end of the day, although Canelo's about to become a billionaire, through fight purses, not all his other investments, just through fight purses, people are going to sit back when they talk about Canelo. They're going to be like, you know, Canelo, what he's done and the accolades he's achieved, they're outstanding. However, you got to wonder, how much credit do we give him for those wins, knowing that he was being trained by a guy who had, 5-6 people under his responsibility and tutelage who were testing positive for banned substances. And it's going to make you, and this thing about microdosing, everybody talking about microdosing, make you wonder if they have some, again, we're just having a conversation, so don't, y'all Canelo fans, don't go start living La Vida Loca and shit. I'm just saying. It'll make people wonder, man, if there's some microdosing that's been going on with Canelo, and that's why he's been able to do what he's done. But anyway, Eddie Reynoso was Trainer of the Year because his fighters, man, don't come in overweight. They do fight clean, and they seem, for the most part, to keep the nose clean outside the ring. So there's a reason why he became Trainer of the Year, and I just think he for sure won't be getting any more of those awards, especially when you come out here making excuses like, I just teach technique, that's it. I train fighters, that's it. I don't know nothing about anything else. I just don't think that's how that works, man. I think about Teddy Atlas. I think about, what's his name? If you notice, what's his name? The bald-head guy who was training Earl Spence, Derek James. He talked about Earl Spence and how Earl Spence trained, and they got a dietitian, they got this, and he was abreast of everything Earl Spence was doing. He didn't say shit about Ryan Garcia. You notice that? He didn't say nothing. You look at the Lou Duvas. You look at Roger Mayweather. You look at Virgil Hunter. You just look at these other trainers out there, man. Nazim Richardson. You can't make me believe that Eddie Reynoso is a trainer. But yeah, he's the only one who doesn't know nothing that goes on with his fighters. He's the head trainer. He's not the assistant. But yet and still, he doesn't, outside of just training and teaching them technique, he doesn't get it. That's his only lane as a head trainer. He doesn't know nothing, get involved with nothing. He doesn't ask questions. He's not following up with nothing. If that's the case, that's called laissez-faire leadership. He's letting other people do jobs that he has some culpability, and he's just basically saying, you guys do it. I'm going to sit here expect everything to be done properly. And for those of you who agree with that, well, he's not a nutritionist, he's not a dietitian. Okay, but it's his career. If those fighters test positive for substances and they don't make it to a fight, or they go to a fight and the fight gets overturned, or et cetera, it affects him too. Especially if somebody pops before a big fight and the fight doesn't happen, that affects him. So I'm not buying it. I personally think there's a Reynoso drug cartel going on, and you can't change my mind on that bullshit. From where there's smoke, there's fire. It's just too. Look, you got people talking about this shit who don't really say anything. Everybody's looking at it like, come on, when is it gonna stop? You know what I'm saying? Especially with this big fight coming up between Canelo and Crawford. If people look, if you're out here saying that, if you're condoning it, then you're dangerous. You can't respect combat sports at all. Especially if you're someone, if you've never boxed, you've never sparred, well, your voice means nothing to me, because you've never been punched in the fucking face. Especially if you're into someone who hits hard. I've hit people hard. I've been hit hard. I couldn't imagine, me, especially when I was younger in boxing, being on something that's going to make me hit even harder, be more explosive. You know what I'm saying? And I couldn't imagine being in the ring with somebody who already, could crack, and all of a sudden find out, or he's on something now. You know what I'm saying? It's just, to me, it's very, very scary. We're talking about, they're on dangerous grounds now, playing with fire. Anyway, y'all keep cool. Shout out to the veterans on 7 continents, man. When I think about that, this just really makes me go back and look at that Margarito and Cotto. Although it wasn't PEDs, it was the plaster on the hand wraps. You're watching that fight and you're thinking, how is this happening to Miguel Cotto? Miguel Cotto was a bad boy. And I remember what Margarito did to Kermit Cintrone and all that, but I didn't really rate Cintrone like that, even though he was knocking people out before he ran to Margarito. But when I watched that shit with Cotto, I was like, that just didn't seem normal, right? The way Margarito just destroyed him. It just didn't seem normal to see him crying blood. That's what it looked like. He was crying blood. I said, damn, how did he beat him like that? And the same thing where I was watching a fight, and although I picked Ryan Garcia to beat Devin, I thought he would knock him out. I sat back and rewatched that fight. I rewatched it twice since. And I'm like, damn. Every time he hit Devin, he was fucking him up, man. And I'm like, okay, I've seen Devin get buzzed by Linares. When he fought Lomachenko, he got tagged a few times. I definitely felt Ryan Garcia hit much harder. But when I rewatched that fight, I was like, it almost looked unusual to see the way Ryan, when he did let his hands go and he was landing right or left hook, right hand or left hook, he was hurting Devin. And I was like, that's crazy. So when I think about it now, I think, and you look at how Ryan looked in his last fight, although he's up in weight, and you go back and take a look at when he first returned to boxing after the mental health struggles. He fought the African fighter, couldn't put a dent in him. Then he fought Duarte. Duarte was putting the bing-bings on him, then Ryan just knocked him out, boom. And then after that he went, I think he fought Tank, but he was, he looked a little weight drained, but he looked more explosive in that fight with Tank than he did against Rolly. Then he got in there with Devin, and we saw how that went. So I'm just saying, it's too dangerous of a sport already for these guys to be out here cheating. And these trainers who are responsible for these guys, they could save those bullshit excuses. Anyway, it's all bad. I hope everybody can pull things together. I know Eddie Reynoso has a family. It affects his family, and If in fact, look, he has nothing to do with anything, he's just a victim, and there's been 6 people who've been underneath his watch, popped for banned substances, and he's just that unlucky of a guy. Well, then I feel bad for him and his family because I know he goes home and that shit affects the house. But one person maybe, 2 people maybe, and 5, 6, 7, the hell out of here. Reynoso running a goddamn drug cartel. Keep cool, I'm in the breeze.